Hey everybody, it's another Thursday afternoon. Welcome to Automation Ladies Demo Day. We haven't done a demo day in a while, and we're super excited to have a platform from Schneider Electric that I hadn't heard of until, well, maybe it was last year, but I remember when I saw it, I immediately started to watch some videos on their website, and I thought that it was really cool. And I think I threw out a comment and tagged Schneider Electric and said, who can show this to us? Or to me, or something of that effect. And here we are now, probably several months later, but I'm super stoked to have three incredible ladies on from Schneider Electric to talk to us about, it's not open automation, it's
Universal.
Yes. Okay. Same concept though, but it's a specific organization. And so we're both going to talk about that as well as platform itself that Schneider has developed as part of this, being part of this group, being able to utilize this infrastructure so that not everything is completely vendor locked and hardware locked, which I think is really important to the resilience, the future resilience of our industry. So I was really, interested in learning more. Courtney, I don't know if you've ever come across this EcoStruxure, and I'll let the ladies explain what all of this terminology means, but their IoT platform, and in specific, this automation expert stuff. Have you ever heard of that or worked with it before or seen a demo?
I have heard the words, but didn't know what it was. And admittedly, IoT stuff is kind of like my weak point. So I'm actually very curious about products related to it.
Then I think we're going to learn a lot today. And unfortunately, Courtney's going to have to jump off after kind of the conversation portion of this. Because, as we discussed, I think in our meeting yesterday, when I had kids barge in and my kids were home from school, at least the pandemic, one good thing that came out of it is that we all kind of learned that, hey, we have these, lives and families and things, and they sometimes come up. So Courtney's got to go pick up some kids from school. And
so only if I get the text.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I may make it on time, but if I get an text, I may have to drop off at 1:30.
Okay. So at least we all know that that's going to happen. I also want to say live demos are something that not everybody's willing to do. They don't always go well. It's a little bit of a business-like version of being vulnerable, which is really what we're all about at Automation Ladies, is kind of being true to yourself, being able to speak with passion, but also just honesty and integrity about what you do. And I love that you guys were willing to come. Guys, we actually just had this conversation on just now. You ladies, but we use the term guys for everybody. So whether
it is a genderless term.
If you get offended by that, I apologize. That's not my intention.
Oh, no, please.
Yeah. We're super excited to have you guys here today to both actually give us the demo of this, but also just kind of clarify what it is, what is Schneider Electric doing with it, how does it fit into the rest of all of the technologies and portfolios and things. We won't get too much into that, but a little bit of clarification about what this terminology is, which I think would be really helpful to us that have heard it but maybe don't know exactly what it is. We'll dive into why this matters, and then we'll actually go through a bit of a sales demo. Let's see the thing. Let's, put some eyes on it. You're not going to get, all your in-depth question answered or dive into every little detail of the software or how it works. But we are going to see just a standard kind of demo. Talita is going to drive that for us. She's an application engineer that does these demos on a regular basis. So we asked for a person that normally does these, so that it's not necessarily prepped as a show. It's just prepped as you get to be a fly on the wall for these demos. And more importantly, come here for the community. So don't be a fly on the wall. Engage in the comments. Tell us why you're here, where you're from, if there's anything you're interested in finding out today. And then during the demo, feel free to ask questions and we'll try to, throw them up on the screen. We've had a really fun time with our demo so far, the audience engaging with some questions and stuff. And that also just helps the presenters to not feel like they're just talking at a wall for, 30 minutes, 20 minutes. It's a lot more fun for everyone involved if it's engaging and we're engaged. So with that, thank you so much for joining us. And I would like to just pass it off to Jen to get started with a brief, kind of like our standard Automation Ladies question. I'd love to hear just a little bit of an introduction about yourself and then how you got to be in this position. And we'll take that kind of all three of you. And then we'll dive into kind of introducing the subject matter. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds good. So I'm Jen Sutter, and I have been with Schneider Electric for 30 years now. how did I get into this? Well, my dad was a power engineer for a utility company. So there were no other women other than a cousin of mine who went into petroleum engineering that were engineers in the family. So I was good in math and science. I decided to dive right in, got my degree in electrical engineering, but in power services. Got my first job out of college at a utility company. And there I am sitting in an office that really was a closet with a computer doing load flow studies all day by myself. And I thought, how can I do this the rest of my life? I
That's
grew
exactly what
up.
I thought engineering was and why I didn't get a degree in it. Because I was like, I don't want to be stuck in that closet.
Yeah, yeah. And I knew my dad had worked in the field. So I was like, this isn't what I want to do. But I grew up also, ironically, or not ironically, but I grew up above a restaurant my mom owned and ran, and my grandmother before her. We lived in the apartment above it. So growing up, I had a lot of experience waitressing and stuff. And even at the young age of 12, 10, 11, 12, I'm onboarding and training the new waitresses that are 16 years old being hired into the family to work for the family. So what I did is I did something fun, or what I did is I thought about it. Everybody remembers that one credit class you took in engineering that was like all the different jobs an engineer can do. And I remember learning that, hey, a lot of engineers go into sales and marketing for companies that look for people in sales and marketing. So I started networking with different people. I had five uncles, four of them were engineers, one was a purchasing agent. So, of course, I went to the one who was a purchasing agent and said, hey, can you help me figure out like what companies hire engineers to go into sales and might have sales development programs or something? And that's how I found Square D by Schneider Electric at the time. Because again, my background was power, got into their sales development organization, their program, and spread my wings into the industrial automation. And I'd like to tell people in my 30 years at Schneider, I did what I call the monkey bar approach. I took a lot of lateral moves in different business units to learn more about the company and to learn a lot of other areas of the business. And now that I'm a regional sales director in our industrial automation space, it has really served me well to have friends in all of our other business units, like our buildings business, our IT business, our sustainability business, our microgrid business, and all of that. So, a lot of fun stories over the years, and it's a great company for women to work at. Really enjoy working at Schneider Electric. So,
I love that experience. And the fact, like you said, that, career progression doesn't always have to be linear. And even within one company, you would think you kind of just climb the ladder up. But at a company as big as Schneider, and I think some of the other big companies in our industry do well with this, but, giving people the opportunity to move around and learn different disciplines and areas. And then you kind of, with all of that and your institutional knowledge, you can become a very valuable asset over time, just from having all those different experiences across the organization, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Talita, how about yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Talita Clemente. As you can see from my accent, I'm not American. I'm from Brazil. So I started at Schneider 7 years ago, right off college, as an intern, actually, in Brazil. So I started as a part of the engineering delivery team. So I started working on projects, developing projects, commissioning. I got hired to that position and I was super excited. I loved PLCs and working with them was like my dream coming true. But then just after I got hired, I joined an early graduate program at Schneider and I saw the role that Schneider had to offer me. So I started networking and talking to people, still working on my delivery position. Then I moved to a position on the same team that I am today, that is where the competency center inside Schneider. So I started working with everything that Schneider has to offer in industrial automation with Brazil, Ecuador, and Colombia. And almost 3 years ago, I got the opportunity to move to the US and work with EcoStruxure automation expert for North America. And I've been enjoying the ride here with.
Very cool. I
all
think
of
you
you.
may be the third Brazilian guest we've had on the show so far.
Oh, really? That's exciting.
I'm missing someone because I think we haven't scheduled his episode yet, but yes. So very cool. Join the ranks. My dad loves Brazil. I've never been, but would love to go at some point in the future. And I should
It's worth.
apologize. I've been saying your name the American way with like my mother-in-law's name, Lisa, with the T. So Itoro, you're next. I think I got that better.
Hold on. I'm listening to Jen and Talita, and I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm in the wrong place because
But not for today's discussion, you know, later.
the history that you ladies have in automation, I really don't have it. So we don't have much time, but I'll just summarize real quick. So I started off in oil and gas, right? And at the time, traditionally for like 160 years, you extract the oil and then you flare the gas, which is pretty much those stacks we see, right, with fire burning. And so ExxonMobil decided, hey, let's not flare the gas anymore, right? Let's innovate, right? Let's build the pipelines and the assets and all that to process this gas and sell it,
Yeah.
right? And so they built this natural gas liquids plant, the first of its kind, and I was one of the first people to work there. So I did that, and now, like 20 something years later in my career, I can look back and say, I'm always drawn to innovation. I'm always drawn to people pushing the needle and saying, let's not do things the way we've been doing it, right? Let's do it differently. So it started off in ExxonMobil, and then, Bell South at the time was called Bell South, now it's AT&T. They said, let's not do dial-up anymore. If you can remember AOL, you've got mail. And and if you had to choose between, being on the phone or being online, right? Dial-up internet.
Yeah.
And AT&T said, let's not do that anymore. Let's create high-speed internet so people can choose between, hey, you don't have to always unhook your phone to get online. Let's give people both. And while we're doing it, let's make the internet even faster. So fiber to the home, I was part of that, right? And then I moved to Houston, and OSI Soft, a company called OSI Soft, the makers of the Pi system,
Yeah.
have always been using their technology for operational excellence for process industries. And they said, let's not do that anymore. Let's actually still do that, but use the software in data centers. And I was like, I want to be a part of that. And fast forward to here, right? Schneider Electric said, let's not do traditional control systems anymore. Let's decouple the software from the hardware. And I'm here. I signed up. So
Yeah.
now looking back, I'm, like moth drawn to the fire. I'm just constantly drawn to people pushing the envelope saying, let's not do things the way we do them traditionally. There's got to be a better way.
I love that. So you are the perfect person to be here today, because some of the things that we don't even have a super clear, like we started the show with X mission. Like we started it for a bunch of different reasons, and as we keep doing it for different reasons. But one of them is there are so many people that could come into this industry in so many different ways, and maybe they don't know about it, right? You ended up being in a conversation with someone where it was an opportunity, right? But we just want to increase those opportunities for everyone to hear about what we're doing, how cool it is, how there is innovation happening, and that you can be a part of it, whether you're a trained engineer or you come from some other business discipline. It doesn't matter. We need all of them in this industry. So you can go do that in pharmaceutical, or you can come do that here. And I think there's something cool and exciting about being here. Even things like, Courtney and I actually work a bit with landfill gas capture and flare systems.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Yeah. And you would think like, oh, trash, that's not exciting.
I've been to one of the flare stations, and it was intimidating, like the sound of the flame. I didn't realize, like I thought a train was passing under us, and it wasn't a train passing under us. It was like the deep rumble of these things going. Like,
exactly. It's intense. It's intense. And when conversation for another day, but when you look at the environmental implications of that, and then the health, of the communities who live around it, right?
Yeah.
So of course, companies like Exxon took that in mind. And also, when you're flaring gas, you're pretty much just burning money.
Yeah, exactly. Right? I was going to say, it takes something on
fire. That's what you're doing. So there's the doing the right thing part of it, and there's also how much money can be made when you reform.
Yeah. So another perfect. We do this because it's a win-win-win-win-win. Like however many people are on the screen is how many wins we like to get. Because we also like to have fun doing this. We like to learn. Our audience likes to learn. We get to know each other. It's really great when you can kind of check a lot of boxes all at once. And I think, one of the things we wanted to not do the same way, but do differently with this demo day was not keep all of the information about our industry so under wraps. And even things like sales information and sales demos, and I completely understand. You don't just want to demo your stuff to everyone in the world, and if it's not relevant, and to give that one-on-one time from a sales rep to a person, it's a waste of time for everyone involved if you're not a potential customer or you have no use for it. But awareness and knowledge is also really cool, even if you're not in the buying cycle or you're not a customer. If you're in the industry, it's nice to be able to know what's available, what's out there, what it looks like, without wasting people's time and expectations of having to go for a sales demo that isn't worth anybody's time. So we really, just appreciate your willingness to come show this to whoever's watching, no matter how likely they are to buy this or not, with the mind of just sharing it with everyone, and opportunities do tend to come from that. So thank you all, ladies. Those were great intros. I learned a lot about each of you. It's just, I continue to be amazed by the caliber of people that we get into this industry after they've been doing other stuff. So we're very, very happy to have you here, Itoro.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess, unless, Courtney, you want to talk a little bit like me, get any of your dying, burning questions out before we hand it off to Jen to start telling us a little bit more about this EcoStruxure stuff and universal automation.
Yeah, actually, I like your words better than my words, Nikki. You're just more eloquent than I am on things. I get excited about seeing tech, and I'm like, yeah, take it out, take it out, take it out. Oh yeah, there's people too. Yeah. But I really, like, to your point, like, getting to meet you guys and talk to you is always like the best part of this, because like I'll remember whatever you guys show off today, but I'll remember you more than I will whatever you're about to demo. And like what Nikki was saying, I think it's just cool that people can come on and see the different paths into automation, and also just to look at people and be like, hey, I look like that, my story sounds like that, I could do that. So thank you guys for being willing and vulnerable to share your stories in front of everyone.
Yeah, I'm also going to throw up a few thank yous to some of the people that joined us in the comments. Jose, thank you so much for a few comments, including this passion on it. Yeah, this is important, important stuff. I appreciate that. Carl, yeah, I don't know. I've struggled with the y'all, so a little bit, but I moved here to Houston in middle school from Iceland via a brief stop in England, and I had a really heavy British accent when I first moved here. And people would they would be like, can you say y'all? And they would have me say different words and then make fun of me. So I immediately was like, I'm never saying that word. I am not from here. I am not saying that. And then now, many, many years later, and with kids, and I live here again, and I appreciate it, I've started to say it a little bit, but I still default to guys most of the time. So again, that applies to guys and girls in this case. All good, all good intentions for that. Yeah, totally, y'all. Hey, from Frisco. Okay, so you're pretty local. We had a couple people that I brought up earlier on the screen. Thanks for joining us. Leo, thanks for joining us from Toronto. Let's see. Oh, we have Rafi here from Pakistan. Great to see you, Rafi. I'm wondering if you're familiar with this platform. I know he works a lot with Ignition SCADA and companies that use various different hardware platforms for their operations. He works with a lot of US-based systems integrators and things like that. And he actually flew here to Houston for our OT SCADACon earlier this year.
We would love to talk to him.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll get you guys in touch. Michael, great to see you. Michael's also an automation engineer with a great systems integrator, growing systems integrator called Mast Owl Technologies. And actually, the podcast episode that came out today is recorded with the owner of Mast Owl, Alex Poole. And that was an incredible conversation that Ali and I both really enjoyed, and we want to collaborate with them more. So thank you guys for coming on. Slam dunk, Courtney. Yeah, it's absolutely right. And, same thing goes for being in the comments and being active. A lot of people, they kind of passively consume content, which I don't want to push anybody out of their comfort zone. I just want to encourage you to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And I find that, our crowd is pretty friendly. If you're into automation, we already really have something in common. Like we nerd out about things. So our differences are, I think, to me, the commonalities are much more. So with that said, acknowledging everybody in the comments for joining us, we really appreciate it. Let's dive into what the heck are we talking about today, technology-wise. And Jen, dispel the lingo confusion for us.
Yes. So I will simplify the Schneider Electric meaning of EcoStruxure. So really, EcoStruxure is Schneider Electric's IoT-enabled architecture and platform. It integrates across various solutions, different business units like energy management, automation, sustainability, in a more cohesive system. EcoStruxure is what we say helps businesses optimize our operations, improve efficiency, enhance sustainability by leveraging real time data and analytics. So, EcoStruxure is our broad term that we use across the company. So, you'll have EcoStruxure in all of our business units. So specifically, we're all a part of our industrial automation business unit. And today we're specifically going to talk about universal automation. What and Universal automation for us, we call it EcoStruxure Automation Expert, and that is what Itoro will refer it to. And universal automation is really based off of an IEC standard. I think it was set about 15 years ago, the 61499 IEC standard. That is driven by end users. ExxonMobil, for instance, is actually putting in. So, Toro, you talked about ExxonMobil being a leader in industry and changing. They are this month in one of their Baton Rouge facilities ripping out PLCs and putting in a universal automation solution, not just leveraging Schneider Electric EcoStruxure Automation Expert, but leveraging other companies' products that are part of universal automation. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Toro to kind of talk a little bit more details about Schneider Electric's play with EcoStruxure Automation Expert within the Universal Automation Organization and a little bit about Universal Automation Organization.
Thanks.
Very cool.
Thanks, Jen. Thank
and I know you can, we'll include this, and it was included in some of the event descriptions, but there's a list of all the companies that are members of this on the website, so it's really easy to find. There's definitely like other companies that we've all heard of and worked with, so it seems to be a very good collaboration.
Yes, so just jumping right in. So, what is Universal Automation, the board? So, it's really a non for profit organization, and it's made up of members from the end user community, from vendors like Schneider Electric, and from nonprofits as well as universities. And what do we agree on? We agree that we came up with a common runtime. So, it's a common software for doing your automation, right? And we're saying that when you use this automation system, it's totally decoupled from the hardware, which means traditionally when you get a PLC system, you buy from a certain vendor and you're pretty much locked to that vendor. And so this organization is saying, no, let's decouple the software from the hardware so that end users have that choice to decide what vendor they want to use it for. So think about it. And, my mom always wonders what I do. And I like to explain to her, I talk about like Android for control systems. That's pretty much what we do. So if you can think about your iPhone, you're pretty much locked into the iPhone ecosystem, right? And, we're lining up trying to get upgrades, but still locked to that system, right? And so we are pushing the needle and we're saying, let's not do that anymore. Let's give our customers, because we've listened to the customers, let's give them the choice to decide what hardware vendor they want to go with, right? So it's totally separating, decoupling the software from the hardware. So you can take the software and run on multiple hardware infrastructure as long as they're members of Universal Automation.org. So that's pretty much what universalautomation.org is. It was founded in 2021. It was about 10 members, but now it's over 100 members because the more we're taking the message out, we're talking to system integrators, distributors, customers. People are saying, absolutely, this makes sense. Like, we've never gone to anyone who says absolutely doesn't make sense, right? They're saying it makes sense and it's high time we move from the way things were done in the 50s, because now it's 2024. We should have options. And I'm going to steal the word that ExxonMobil uses. They say we need options,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. It's
And
good.
so we're saying we've heard you customers and we're giving you options. So that's pretty much what it is. So um, EcoStruxure automation experts, it's an implementation of that standard. It's Schneider Electric's implementation of that standard. Like Jen mentioned, it's based on IEC 61499, which is pretty much function blocks. Not going to steal her thunder, but Talita is going to demo that and show how it works.
Very cool. I'm pretty excited about that. My role in kind of the supply chain stuff over the last few years definitely makes me think that a lot of people realize that this, in fact, does make a lot of sense. When you can't finish building something because you can't get the PLC or, whatever that is, or you can't get a spare, right? This at least gives you a lot more a lot more resilience in your operations, not to be completely locked in to one particular vendor or one particular piece of hardware.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I also worked for a system integrator, and we're used to, running into issues with projects being delayed because of supply chain issues. Anyone remember COVID, right? When you had to wait for hardware to come so you could work on your project. So you're not delivering your projects during the time frame that you promised your customer you were going to deliver the project. So it's just messing up with people's bottom lines. And so now with this system, you do have flexibility. You're able to deliver your projects within the time that you promised you would, right? Because you can just pick and choose, and you can distribute the control as well within different vendor platforms.
Absolutely. That's what my time at Festo, one of the things that's really important is you want to size the right thing for the job, but sometimes that perfect size isn't in stock or the lead time is long. And so you want those options, right? Yes, you may use a suboptimal solution this time, but in the grand scheme of delivering or not delivering, it is in fact the optimal solution, right? So to have the ability to kind of mix and match and have, some things like that. I was going to say like spares, or in this case, we're talking like valve manifolds, right? Slotting different things in and having certain types of sizes maybe in stock.
Yes.
Exactly. I'm gonna just before we dive into the demo, I'm gonna answer a couple of questions from the audience. So I apologize. I guess we're having a little bit of issue in some cases with buffering and people having to X out. I think our friend David Garcia also told me that during our last live stream, he was having trouble, like LinkedIn was kind of kicking him out of the event and then he'd have to come back in. So if you guys head over to the YouTube Automation Ladies YouTube page, it may be streaming better over there. You can just search for Automation Ladies on YouTube and it should be live streaming there. I know we have at least a couple people over there watching right now. That would be one way. And then I wanted to answer this question, will there be a recording available? So absolutely. This is currently streaming, but then we will be available for replay anytime, both on LinkedIn and on YouTube. So our apologies for that. I don't know what's going on. We've never had issues with StreamYard up until about 3-4 weeks ago. So if this is a continuing problem, we're definitely going to have to look into that. Yeah, so it's apparently a common problem. And we have somebody joining us from Brazil. Hello, Mariana. Thanks for joining us. I guess that's one of your team members there. So it's always
Awesome.
I think also, as women, we want to see more women represented. So we like to push any women that we meet that we find their work to be incredible or interesting or whatever to say like, oh, go out there and show it more or, represent. But it's also, it can be a lot of pressure. It can be, some people just aren't used to it, and it's an expectation that shouldn't be put on us just because we need more representation. Now you need to do that in addition to your job and, whatever. So I just want to acknowledge that anybody that is, coming out to do it, it's also just really, really nice to have support. It's one of the things we learned at OT SCADACon. We had a lot of first-time speakers, and it made a huge difference, the fact that we talked about ahead of time that, hey, if they freeze up or if they, need some help, like, let's be a supportive audience. Because And we had people comment on that afterwards. That actually was a really enriching part of the experience because some of the speakers did stumble and kind of like feel awkward. And then everybody cheered them on and then they just got more confident. Versus, sometimes when a speaker stumbles and they know they've messed up, everything gets more awkward after that because they just lose all their confidence. Yeah, so thank you all friends that come and to support our guests in the comments. I appreciate that.
Yeah, shout out to Audrey who's been mentioning some stuff in the comments. She's
thank you.
Yeah, so Audrey works with us. She's a part of our team up in Western New York. So she's helping us out by putting the website there for you, Itoro. Where that organization, that nonprofit organization is, that, and one of the things that I thought I'd mention also, Toro, is that it's not just end users and manufacturers. You do have in universities, you've got systems integrators and distributors that are joining the organization as well. I mean, there are systems integrators that want to be in the front end of this new technology.
Absolutely. And then it shows your customers that you're forward thinking, right? That you're embracing innovation, you're embracing change. So it's like you said, Nikki, I'm going to steal that win.
All right, so I think we're up for demo and actually perfectly on time. We like to, I like to say we're probably going to talk for the first half hour because I really like to, not just get into product, but a little bit of like, why the product? Why does it matter? Why should I care? Why is my attention on this? So I think we've set the stage for that perfectly. So Talita, feel free to share your screen whenever you're ready, and I'll try to arrange everyone around so that we can see things.
That's good. So this is EcoStruxure Automation Expert Engineering Tool, right? It's EAE for the close friends, which we all are, and we call it EAE. So this is the engineering tool. This is how we design and we develop our projects here. One thing that I like the most, and that is different than the traditional automation, traditional PLC SCADA architectures when we're developing. When you start a new project, the first thing that you need to decide is where do you want to run, right? What is the hardware that you're going to use for this project? And in here, this will be the last thing, because as Itoro said, we're giving you options. So you just need to think about your process, what you need to develop here. And then later on, you can decide where you're running. And if you want to change that later, it's okay as well. So there's no problem with that. And that is really different here. So just by installing EAE, you get a bunch of libraries that we develop for you. So we have a lot of things that are already done. The most common things that we use when we're developing projects for our process. We have some segment related stuff. So everything is done here for you. But of course, everyone can develop its own library based on our library. So we give you something to start. So there's that. And then here, when we're developing, mentality that we need to have here is very object oriented. So in this demo that I brought here for you, it's a pumping station demo. So you will see that we have the entire pumping station all encapsulated into one little square here. That's our block. So we can reuse multiple times. So that's easy to do. And what is a pumping station made of, right? So we can dig into the software and see what do we have. So we have a block here that will control all of that. And we have our assets that are the pumps here. So the pumps are all laid out here as little blocks. And this is just automation, right? Programming. We program the pumping stations. You can do the same way that we always do, but there is something special about the way that we do these blocks here, is that you're not only doing the control part of it, we also have the SCADA part of it integrated. So you can develop your own symbols and faceplates and everything. And all the communication between the HMI and the PLC will be done for you. There is like zero effort. It's basically just dragging and dropping objects here. So we just drag and drop the pumps here, and the communication is done for you. So this is already everything encapsulated into one block. So later I'll show you guys, but to create a new pumping station, it will be pretty simple. And this is how we program things here. And later on, when we want to decide where I want to run this code on, it's basically click away. So I have a mapping option here where I can decide between all of the hardware that I have here on my project that I'll show you guys later. Where do I want to run that? So if I want to change right now that it's running on a M580 pack and I want to change that to soft D pack, I'm just remapping and okay, that's done. So there is no hard time to change from one platform to the other. And then here I have an example topology here for you to show the flexibility that we have available here. So we have what we call the eco runtime. That is the runtime that will run in every device that is part of universal automation. Schneider is not the only vendor that is part of universal automation. We have other vendors with universal automation offers as well that can run this runtime. But on Schneider's side, we can run the runtime on M251, M262, M580 packs. Those are all hardware offers that someone that works with Schneider is already used to. But we also give you the option of doing something different, like making your PC PLC. So you can have a software pack running here on my Windows PC, or I can have like a Raspberry Pi running Linux that can be a PLC as well. So you can go very small, or you can run it on a data center server. You can create just a VM because our Linux PLCs, they run on a Docker container. So it can pretty much run anywhere and it's pretty light. And then on top,
What about drives? What about variable frequency drives?
yes, so that's another thing that we're also doing different. We have our ATV offer that it's well known, and we have like a very small module that you can just attach to your drive, and then your drive can also be a PLC on the network, like I have here. So you can deploy, and then it can be a part of a bigger architecture, like communicating with all the devices. But if it loses communication by some reason, it will also control itself because you have the PLC embedded on the drive itself. So that's
It's very unique. And I'm sorry to interrupt. One thing I just wanted to mention is when our customers are doing, let's say, end of life upgrades for the hardware, right? Remember, traditionally, you're removing everything and you're rewriting your code. But like Talita is showing here, when you want to swap out your hardware, the software still is the same, right? So you don't have to rewrite the software. So, that's one of the principles of universal automation at work because it's portable. So you can use it in multiple hardware devices and you don't have to keep rewriting like we do traditionally. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, that's perfect. That's it. We're all about efficiency here, right? So we want to make the engineer's life easier, and I think this is how we do it, right? You have the flexibility to remap from one to the other. You have the flexibility of having the HMI designed with the controls, and then inside one object, you have everything done for you. And another thing here as well, usually when we have an application with multiple PLCs, we need to configure communication between the PLCs, right? So you spend a lot of time doing that. In here, all of those PLCs here, even the drive one, the one that runs on the PC, they all talk to each other without any effort. Just by connecting one block that is mapped on one device to the other, they're communicating. You don't need to configure anything. So we're also saving you time doing that. And then in here also, when we're using EAE, we're all about the data. We want to make the data available to you. We want to help you take your decisions based on data. So we communicate using every industrial protocol that there's available, but we also have, for example, an OPC UA server natively in each one of those PLCs. So if you're running in we call it the ATVT pack, the version for the drive. So if you're using that, this will also be an OPC UA server on top of being a PLC. So that's also very nice. Yeah, I wanted to show you our HMI running.
If you don't mind, I'm going to interrupt you for a sec, though, and just see, Courtney, what are you thinking? Because I don't do PLC programming myself. So I haven't even seen like all of or as many of these IDEs as you have.
I like this one for how graphical it is compared to a lot of others. Like you get into function block and you can kind of make a little boxy looking thing that connects to other things. But this is, I like how this looks, and I like that the SCADA is built in. Like the stuff you have to do to talk to SCADA is already built in. And obviously I'm a robot chick, so my brain always goes to how do I use this to talk to robots, because that's a lot of times what I'm using a PLC to do. So I'm curious, like if I want to choose like different industrial protocols, could I make these talk to any robot, or like where would I run into a challenge there is what I'm really curious about.
Yeah, regarding protocols, we can configure almost all of them. We have Ethernet IP, Modbus TCP, OPC MQTT, Profinet. So we're kind of doing everything here. So you have the option to configure. It's up to the user, but we're giving you the ability of doing all of this.
And Courtney, maybe that question would also be answered or addressed in the IEC standard. I don't know if that like addresses all the different types of
that is
automation types that go into that. I haven't read it myself, but
right.
And there's a link to it, right? It's in the like first page of the link that Audrey provides some background information into the organization, and then as well as the standards informations. But yeah, I just I know that, your questions are going to be, or your comments are going to be more technically related. So I wanted to bring that up. And then maybe we can discuss a little bit later. I don't know if you guys want to bring this up now, but Ralphie's asking a question. Maybe we can address it at the end, but to kind of understand how similar this is or different from Codesys.
Yes, I could start. So it's almost like Codesys, but it's a little bit different. So Codesys is based on the 1131 standard, right? But this is based on the 1499 standards, right? So this is based on function blocks. Codesys is not. Codesys, it's open. It's kind of similar, but it's not truly open. With this, it's truly, when we say it's truly vendor agnostic, it is. So you can take this code and run it even on our competitors' hardware, and you don't need to recompile or anything like that. So it's
right.
It's truly, when we say it's open, it's truly open. Like you could take this and not even buy a Schneider hardware and run it, and it would work.
Whereas Codesys kind of has different flavors for different vendors.
Yeah, exactly.
But they all kind of have their own way of running it, right? As far as I understand.
But this is truly open.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I guess if you're okay with it, we'll take one more question before we move on in the demo, and then a comment. But how old of ATV firmwares will work with this system?
Yeah. Usually when we install DPEC module, we usually update the firmware. Each version that we have here will have its own firmware, but the firmware upgrade procedure is pretty simple, and we can do it without a problem. So it will work. We will update both of them together.
Very cool. And then I guess I'll throw out a comment here. You could even run the UAO virtual PLC runtime on a robot.
Yeah, we've had a partner once running our virtual PLC on a switch.
Okay.
So
yeah,
that's pretty exciting. Did you hear that? Yeah, that's good news, right?
That's great news.
Between you and Albert, I know that he also is probably going to geek out about the SCADA server stuff and whatnot.
I've got a robot in my garage. I want to put it on it.
Yeah.
Somebody help me do it.
Why don't we give this a try?
I can help you. Let's do it. Let's do it. Call me after this.
Sweet.
I'll make you all the content.
Let's keep going.
Yeah. So all I really wanted to show was the HMI, because there's also no configuration here on the communication to the HMI, because we usually need to go over, even if it's OPC UA, right? You need to configure the tags, but here, done for you. So we just have like a general map here with pumping stations that you can do. And then we can navigate and we can see the system running. It's controlling the level just based on a set point, a very simple control here. And then I just want to show you how easy it will be, for example, to create a new pumping station. So for example, I have 5 pumping stations. I will create the 6th one. So just by copying and pasting, it's done here, my pump station number 6. And I, for example, want to run it on this soft DPEC here. So I have multiple options. I just select one of them. All of those that I was showing in the picture just now, they're here laid out for me. So I just select, and because it has this green symbol here, I know that it's mapped. Then I can just deploy to this one. But I will just create a pumping station screen, drag and drop, and everything will be done for us. So we also, on top of that, we have a very good integration with Aviva. So we can integrate from your engineering drawings to generate the objects here. And then from here, we can generate the objects on Aviva system platform. So that you also don't have to configure communication, create the symbols, the objects, and everything. We're good to start a new pumping station. Right. On top of that, what we would have to do, being realistic here, is just configure the IOs, but the logic and everything will be done for you here.
So you can see how quick it is, like to do that. Because I remember, not to age myself, but doing this manually, and it took a really long time. So if you're a customer and you have engineers and you have projects that you have to do, think about using EcoStruxure Automation Expert to do those projects, and think about the engineering efficiency and how much quicker you'll do the work, and it's uniform too, right? So you're not introducing any coding mistakes or fat finger mistakes like we used to have, because this is just drag and drop, like very easy to
Yeah, so it's here, our pumping station 6.
do.
I just missed the station naming here, but it's running, it's communicating, and we don't need to configure basically anything here. So after you have your library designed, it will be so easy for you to move forward and reuse and increment on that. So that's one of the features that I like the most here.
I don't know how you managed to pick a demo that was so spot on for us dealing with pumping stations.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They won't tell you how many engineering hours we're putting on those HMI screens and stuff right now.
Oh, yeah.
But
we can save it some time.
Maybe there's something to be said about the Department of Efficiency for a lot of these ways that we're doing things.
Well, and that's where we're spending a lot of our time right now, is in the water wastewater segment, but really any oil and gas as well. These are energy and chemicals. These are all areas of efficiencies that can be driven, and it allows you. I think, Itoro, the one thing I like that you say when you talk about this is that it can be scalable, right? You can start small and it can be scalable. And as time goes on, there's going to be more and more vendors that have more of their products to plop on the network as well. So
yeah, I hope it's okay I mentioned.
Think about, I was going to say, think about everything that can be connected to the internet, and how you would want, or anything that could be connected to the system that you would want to collect data on. So it could really be any product not on your system that you want connected, and you just drop it in and it finds itself on the system.
Yeah, and we love to hear, from real life use cases, whether for kind of either from integrators or from end users. And so I know you've mentioned before that you guys have kind of an evangelist over at Exxon that's currently implementing a lot of this. So we're hoping that maybe he would like to come speak at OT SCADACon to give us a play by play or the real world, like, hey, we did this. This is why we did it. This is how we did it. And yeah, we have another question from Rafe asking, what about learning resources? Is there training for this website? Where do people want to go if they want to start getting familiar with this?
Yes, I'm sorry to interrupt. Yes, we've got training. We've got training on SchneiderElectric.com, so se.com. Or you can also reach out to us. We could, send you point to the right direction. But absolutely, we want to empower people to play with the software, try it out, and then see how much, like all the things we talked about, how cool it is, how efficient it is. So yes, we want to train you. We want to get people trained so you can play with it. Because if we just give the software to you and you don't have any training, it could be not very good, right? Because now you're like, this is a different way of doing things, right? So very good question on the training. Yes, on SchneiderElectric.com, you'll see all the training there, or you could reach out to us on LinkedIn. We'll send you the exact training links.
Yeah, I would highly encourage all of you that watch this either now live or watch this later, connect with these ladies on LinkedIn. They're tagged as the speakers of this event on LinkedIn. they're here to, grow awareness about this in the community. We've got 3 different representations of areas from, within this practice at Schneider, and they're open to networking with you and answering your questions or pointing you in the right direction, whether that's right now or 6 months from now when you watch this. But also, if you're going to spend your time coming to something like this, right, during the workday, usually, we hope that it's a little bit entertaining, but of course you have to have a business reason. And a lot of times, if you're watching this out of more of a learning curiosity standpoint, having just those connections later on for when a business use case does come along can be huge, right? Because you may not remember everything you saw in the demo. Thankfully, you can come back and watch it anytime. But then having that person that you can reach out to or that you remember. And I always encourage people, if you connect with a person you don't know on LinkedIn through an event like this, either just say, hey, we were both on this event, or in this case, if it's the speaker, my favorite tip, and I started doing this recently, is I take a picture of the speaker while on the stage. Or in this case, what you could do is take a screenshot of this and be like, hey, great job. I just saw your talk, or even better, post about it and tag that person. And then when your friend request comes along, you bet that person's going to click accept, right? Because you showed them that you were there, that you were interested, that you're friendly. And we all get enough like spam invitations from over developers or whoever nowadays on LinkedIn, right? So it's just, I think the value of those quality personal connections keeps going up the more we have AI and bot and just unsolicited activity all around us all the time. It becomes so nice to have a real trusted network of people that you can, know have some expertise backing up what they're talking about, and you can reach out to them on your own time. So we have Leo over here. He says, you have my attention. So Leo, I hope you'll be reading ladies to learn more. And looks like we have another friend here that maybe a couple of you know. He
I
says,
do know him.
yours, Itoro, and happy to see a fellow Brazilian here as well. But then he says, I wish he was an easy tool to use back when I worked as an automation engineer.
Absolutely. I was just speaking to some people this week. I remember when I started in automation, learning ladder logic when I started working because it wasn't taught in schools. And it took me months to be able, and Courtney is nodding because you know this. It
It's not
takes
taught
months.
in universities.
Exactly. So you start working and they start teaching you, and it takes you months to be able to program on your own. And you're shadowing the senior engineers, right? So think about all the people that are, retiring from the workforce and all the young engineers coming in. They're not going to have time to learn ladder logic. What if we gave them a program that they're used to? They're familiar with function blocks. They're familiar with the look and feel of it. These guys can be productive in weeks. So think about your bottom line if you're a project manager and you're trying to get projects done, right? You have people coming in from the streets pretty much who can help move the needle and be productive from, in weeks instead of months like in my day. So this is huge benefits, not enough time to talk about everything, but that's a huge one. The workforce, the new workforce. This is a huge game changer for sure.
And I know one of the ways we've always done things in this industry is kind of keep it internal and then say there's a limited number of people and they know all of this and it's really valuable. And then everybody goes after those same people back and forth. And then they end up using the same stuff. Well, let's say, well, we can only find people that know this. And we go with this because we know that, there's going to be technicians around that we can hire that know how to do this already. Well, there's just not enough of them to go around anymore. And we're not making a whole lot more of them unless we bring the kids that are graduating now into, and I know some of these new mechatronics programs. So we work with a student from a Central Virginia Community College. She already graduated from there, but now she just got into a bachelor's mechatronics degree. I won't say the wrong college because I don't remember exactly what college, but seeing it as a bachelor's degree, it's not that common. I mean, there's more and more of them now, but seeing this in school, especially, or if you don't see it in school, have it be close enough to things you've already learned, makes a huge difference, I think, for, and I say kids, right? But we were all like 21, fresh out of college.
Right.
We wouldn't call ourselves kids, definitely not.
No.
Or even someone without a college degree, right? Like a mechatronics associate's degree. Those are becoming more and more common, and you can definitely get up to speed on something like this super quickly. and we need to be able to attract
and it's transferable, Nikki. It's transferable for computer science. I mean, there's 3 times or 4 times as many computer science kids with computer science degrees graduating than engineers. And this really is a crossover that would allow you to take that skill set and pull them into this industry.
And again, it just opens up the door more for people that are adjacent to this industry to feel like they can come in and they're not going to have a huge learning curve that's impossible to get without going to specialty trainings that cost lots and lots of money, or that they're going to be gatekept from any of these jobs because they don't know XYZ hardware platform. I think it makes the industry more inclusive in general as well, for the tech to be more inclusive and more connected. Few more comments. Oh, Carrie Pierce is here. She's a machine vision integrator. She just recently had an anniversary at her company. Congratulations, Carrie. Thank you for joining us. Leo, he wants to teach this to his students. So get him in touch with whoever is in the education space there as well. And then just some kind feedback. Thank you, Param. That's really nice of you to say. He says, thank you for the presentation. He's glad to be, I guess he's part of the Schneider team. And we had another great feedback here from Ronald. Thank you so much for the amazing presentations and fantastic live demo. Yes, you did a fantastic job, Talita. And thank you. You included a minute of it. So it really makes what we do worth it to hear that it's worth it to you guys as well that are watching. Although I will be frank with you, I've always said this to Allie and Courtney, but we don't do this for the audience. We don't research what you guys want to see and, try to build out a campaign. We have the conversations that we want to have, and we want to look at the stuff that we're interested in. And I think I want to be transparent about that, because that's really where this comes from. It's the only way that we're able to do it with the workloads that we have is it has to be interesting. It has to fill our cup versus drain it to do this. And when we hear some feedback that other people love it as well, it just makes it that much more enjoyable for me. So for selfish reasons, I'm going to say I'm glad you loved it. We're going to keep doing it, keep showing up, and keep telling us that, maybe this sales stuff doesn't have to be done the same way as we've been doing it. Coming from a sales engineer, a former sales engineer myself, there's a lot of great things about a lot of the ways that we used to do things in the automation industry from a sales and relationship building perspective. But there's just a lot more. I mean, the future is kind of like these maybe smaller communities that are connecting in different ways in different places. Small communities, part of one big kind of industry community. So with that, I would say we are up on time, and go ahead and connect with these ladies, follow some of the links that we'll drop in the comments, and keep engaging on this. And then honestly, drop to us as well. You can drop us a voicemail on our website, automationladies.io, or a message to us on LinkedIn. You can message the page. You can also email hello@automationladies.io. And we'd love to hear if you have any suggestions of other demos that you'd like to see. If you're the marketing person for a company and you want to pitch our demo, we're going to ask you to sponsor it. But if you're one of our, community members that watches and you just have a particular product that you're really interested in seeing demoed, we will most likely reach out to that company and offer them to come demo it for us. Because if you're interested, we probably are too. So with that, also one more thing. If you're watching on YouTube, would you please hit that subscribe? We don't edit our YouTube video, so we don't have SEO or click thumbnails.
What do they say? Smash that like button, or
Smash.
Smash that like button.
We've been learning from our kids what we're supposed to do to grow. So go ahead and subscribe it. And if you ever find it in your heart to leave us a kind review on our website or anything, we would also really appreciate that. So thank you, ladies, so much for spending a little time with us here on this Thursday. And I think we are super stoked to keep learning about this and maybe trying it on our robot and seeing what else we can do with this.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's work on your robots.
It'll be in your DMs shortly.
Yeah.
Everybody get to work, connect with each other, have fun, let's learn, let's grow together. And even if you're not using this, there's benefit for you knowing about it. So thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. And we will be coming to you live probably in some way, shape, or form from Anaheim next week as we're going to visit Courtney. So have a great rest of your week, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.